Hi guys, Ian here, and I'm back with another review video, and this time I'd like to talk about this DD3. This is a single dynamic driver with tuning switches, and the retail price for this is just $19 US. It's available on Keep Hi-Fi website. Alright, so I've already unboxed this, so if you guys haven't watched that unboxing video, I'll leave a link somewhere up here. But in this video, I'm just going to share with you guys my thoughts and impressions about this DD3. First, let's talk about the accessories. I mean, I've got no complaints. It's 19 bucks. You get quite a bit of stuff, but what I feel is that they look and feel a bit cheap. Okay, for example, the pouch doesn't feel good to the touch, looks cheap as well. And then the ear tips are, well, I would say is common ear tips. And the cable is flimsy, it's not easy to manage, and I mean, I don't mind braided cables, it's just that this one is, yeah, it's a bit stringy. At the same time, you know, when it tangles, it's a little bit difficult to untangle, especially after the Y split. Alright, this part here is a bit hard to untangle, but yeah. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's 19 bucks, okay? And then as for the build and design, I find that the build and design is not bad, right? It's just that it looks a bit cheesy with the guitar on the faceplate, alright, and I would say maybe just the gradient paint on it, that will look classy, you know. It comes in two colors, right, and black or blue, so without this guitar here, it looks nice, you know, it looks elegant. But with this guitar, it looks a little bit cheesy, and it's kind of a mismatch with the cable, or the color of the cable. Cable is silver, and then you've got the blue or the black. Doesn't really match. Okay, so that's for design, build quality. Now let's talk about my fit and comfort. I mean, these are pretty standard IEM shape, so doesn't give me any pain or any discomfort. In fact, fits my ear pretty well. Okay, so in terms of fit and comfort, it's pretty okay. Now, in terms of sound, first let's talk about drivability. These are not easy to drive. Okay, I tried it with my iPhone, my iPad, and my Android phone, and I'm listening to this at a volume of 60%. Okay, 60% is pretty high. Not easy to drive. So you need some power or some a good source to push this IEM, and I would recommend a DAB or a dongle. Okay. In terms of gear matching, I would say this is a niche or odd tuning, depends on how you call it, but it's not a usual tuning, and I would say the tonal balance on this is a little bit off as well. So you need a gear that is more analog and more musical, so I would recommend something warm, things like iPods or the Sony DABs. I mean, that will match this pretty well. Something not neutral, okay, because if you pair this with anything that's neutral, it will sound very bland and very dry as well. So yeah, I don't recommend those. Okay, so that's for the gear recommendation. Now let's talk about the tone and tempo for this. Now the tonal balance on this is a little bit off, as I mentioned, and this sounds really dark, heavy on the bottom end, and really light on the top end, and overall is a kind of darkish tone, a fun darkish tone, something like that. Okay, now in terms of technicalities, well, I mean, in terms of technical performance, this is pretty okay. It performs pretty well, but it's just average. I mean, 19 bucks, nothing to shout out about. The soundstage is pretty average in size. It's not the most spacious, and also sound separation is all right. I mean, at times on busier tracks, I do get you know, the sound separation is not really fantastic. The detail retrieval on this is also not the, well, I can't pick up a lot of nuances. This is actually a pretty dark IEM. Okay, so depends on the tuning as well. So if I'm on the bass tuning, it does veil the treble, it does veil the details. At the same time, it does give me a very dark treble. So treble is a bit laid back, and very laid back actually, and I can't pick up a lot of nuances. But in terms of resolution, this does pretty well for 19 bucks. Okay, now that's for technical performance. Let's talk about sound. Okay, so when I listen to this, and what hits me is the very darkish tone to this, and a very laid back treble, and overall it's not my kind of tuning. I like bright IEMs and I like bright trebles. And the tuning switches on this actually does say that, let me just bring out the website that shows you what it says. Okay, so the tuning switches, the mode 1, let me just enlarge this. Mode 1 is supposed to give you a low frequency, a more powerful frequency, but that's not what I got from my measurements, okay, and also from my ears. So yeah, and the impedance is 45 ohms, so as I mentioned, it's not easy to drive. And then mode 2 is where the vibrant high frequencies comes in, and that gave me a bit more, in fact a lot more PINA gain. Not the change in the graph or the tuning, no change in that, okay. And mode 3 will give you more of a natural balance with reduction of the treble and the increase of the bass, but that wasn't the case for me as well, because the treble stayed the same, but it was just that the bass was being, you know, changed. And then you have enhanced low frequency. This did give me a bit of change in terms of the bass, so bass did change a little bit. But that's about it. So if you were to look at the graph, okay, this is mode 1 for the graph, and then look at mode 2, is about the same in terms of the treble. I don't see the difference on their own graph, okay. And mode 3 as well, the treble is, well, I would say almost the same. And mode 4 as well, it's just that the bass is being changed, okay. Now you look at my graph, okay, let me just zoom out for this and look at my graph. This is my graph, okay. This is my graph on the Harman target, right? I normalize it to 1000, and I've got the Harman target in the background, okay. And if you look at this, there's a lot of treble in terms of the gain, the PINA gain to the treble, but then after which it actually, you know, goes down slope all the way. Let me just put this on a stand because my hands are getting a little bit tired. Okay, all right. So anyway, so looking at this graph, the PINA gain on this earphone is really harsh. When I listen to my female vocals or my electric guitars, they are really bitey. They bite a little bit too much, and they are a bit shouty as well for females vocals. And then it actually trails off, and it becomes a very dark and shouty type of you know, presentation to me. So it didn't sound natural to me. So especially when I increase the volume, and because this is really hard to drive, so when I increase the volume, the bass does goes up as well. And so when the bass goes up, I tend to want to crank the volume up a little bit more. So yeah, that's the overall impression that gives me is that it's a, well, bassy and dark and bitey and harsh type of overall tuning. Okay, now sub bass is okay. I've got no complaints about the bass. All right, the bass is fine. It's pretty harmonious, good extension to the bass, and good timbre as well. I mean, it's a good note weight, and overall quite substantial. It's got good texture as well. For the sub bass and the mid bass, sub bass is pretty extended. Mid bass is quite impactful and gives me that so-called continuation, right, from the sub bass, and it's quite a fast mid bass. Okay, now when it comes to the mids, this is where I find that it's a little bit odd, because a lot of instruments, they do you know, bleed out to the mid, to the treble, at the same time to the bass. Instruments like the pianos, they sound pretty good. Now in terms of violins, trumpets, flutes, cowbells, they sound a little bit odd in the overall tone and timbre, right? And because it gains up to the ear PINA, and that gain alone makes that cowbell, for example, sounds a little bit odd, and doesn't sound natural to me. Okay. Now female vocals, as I mentioned, sounds a little bit shouty to me and a little bit harsh as well, and also it sounds dark and laid back. So right, so female vocals, they sound laid back, but at certain points whereby they have a very strong presence, that gain itself is quite a bit shouty to my ear. Okay, and for male vocals, when I listen to when I listen to my Boss Skags, that certain parts whereby the male vocals will come in really harsh, and it will sound a little bit dark as well, a little bit laid back, and overall, Boss didn't sound natural to me, and I mean the low end is there, but it just didn't sound balanced. Okay, so that's for the vocals. Now let's move on to the treble, and the overall treble is odd, right? It's dark, it's harsh, it's shouty, it's not sibilant, definitely. I can crank this volume up really loud, and I will not hear any sibilance or any sharpness to it. It's just that it's a little bit annoying and a little bit hot when it comes to the pinna gain. Okay, if you look at this graph, my cymbal strikes, hi-hats, the crashes, female vocals, electric guitars, they sound dark at the same time in my face. Okay, so a bit odd. I'm not a big fan of this to be honest. This is a little bit odd to me, and dark, and it doesn't have a natural trail off. It rolls off pretty quickly, and yeah, I don't get a very good connection with the treble, and not very satisfactory in terms of the treble. Okay, but other than that, it's fine here. I mean, from this point on, from 30 Hertz all the way to maybe 1,000 Hertz, that was fine until that point. That just went down the drain for me, but yeah, that's how it is presented to me. Okay, so yeah, I mean, some people may like this, I don't know, but for me, I would say this is not my kind of cup of tea. Yeah. And the genre that I listen to this, most of which, I mean, instrumental didn't sound really engaging. Male or female vocals didn't sound really engaging for me as well. It sounds unnatural. Trance electronic music, maybe, but it's not bright enough for the cowbells and the claps and the taps to be engaging for me as well. Well, hard rock, maybe. Yeah, heavy metal, maybe for this. Rap, maybe. Yeah, but quite a niche kind of tuning, and for me, I would say it's actually targeted at a pretty certain crowd that is quite sensitive to treble, I guess. But even then, for the gain to the treble is quite harsh. But I'm not too sure anyone who can take that kind of gain. But yeah, this is how it is. So in terms of my star rating, I will give this 2.5 stars out of 5 stars. Okay, so that's my star rating. I mean, even though it's $19, it's really cheap, and you can EQ this, of course, but for me, I don't EQ my music. I listen to the earphones as it is, and I will grade the earphones as it is, okay, to be fair to the rest of my earphones. Okay, so that's my rating for this ND-DD3, and that also ends my overall review for this ND-DD3. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up, and also please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. That's it for now. I hope you guys have a great day ahead, and I'll see you again in my next review. Cheers.